Greetings, and here's the next little project. This is a CWC, Cabot watch company, and it's the Navy Diver version. And this belongs to another mate of mine called John, who spent 15 years with that on his wrist in the 2nd Battalion of the Parachute Regiment, 2 Para. And he served in Afghanistan and Northern Ireland, wearing that watch, and has obviously changed the strap a few times. I don't think he's changed very much more. He subsequently became having come out of the army in about 2015, became a mechanic, and I think we can see some of his welding skills there, just by the winding crown, and then sticking out of the side of the case there, where he's obviously got some of the weld down onto the case. Anyway, he's got some problems with the mechanism. It's a bit stop-start, and just seems to be problematic whenever he goes to change the timer and pull the crown out. So it could be something to do with the stem, but the reality is that the ETA movements are really very cheap. To replace it with a new one was £11, so it seemed like it would be a good idea to change the movement entirely and change the glass while we were about it and give him a new strap. We'll just give the outside a bit of a polish, but not too much. That patina is quite nice. We're certainly not going to do anything with the bezel, and what I am going to do is just file down those weld splashes and then give that a bit of a polish around there. But this is a patinaed watch, and we'll make it nice, but we're not going to take any of the age off it. What I might do actually is take the bezel off, because the bezel's actually really quite tough to turn. I can't really demonstrate that very well on here because it does turn, but it's probably just hampered by quite a lot of dirt underneath it. So I think we'll give the whole of the watch a very good clean. The glass replacement is going to be slightly nerve-wracking because the glass in these things has a gasket round it, which is sort of unobtainium, if you like. Can't really get hold of new ones. Cousins do gaskets, down to the millimetres. So I think I'll be able to get something should it go wrong, but the hope will be when we press the glass out that the gasket will be okay, and we'll be able to use that with the replacement I was going to say glass nylon or whatever it is made out of. It's not going to be a sapphire crystal. It was 11 quid, same as the movement, funnily enough. So yeah, we'll get on with that and see if we can't get John's watch looking pretty cool and working for another 15 years. So we'll just take the strap off and have a little look at the back of the watch where it has the military designations. So we'll get this strap off first. Just pull that out like that. And pull the... Oh, look how filthy this strap is. John, oh my God, that is disgusting. We're burning that, I think. Look at the dirt in there. You filthy animal, honestly. I don't think that's been washed for quite a long time. So I'll just take that strap out and pop that back down for you. Let's have a little look at those numbers. So 0555, that's the Royal Navy designation. Some people think it's the Marines, but I think actually in the early 90s they went from 552 to 555 for Royal Navy watches. 6645 is a timepiece designation. 99 is UK designation, and then 7572314, that is a diver Quartz watch designation. 101/99 means it was 101 in the batch in 1999, and that's all your numbers explained. So onwards and upwards with the cleaning. So I've now taken the bezel off John's watch. It's a bit tricky to show you taking the bezel off, simply because you've got to hold it pretty tight while you're doing it, and it doesn't really lend itself to being under a camera. But I'll tell you the principle, which is with a jeweler's tool, is to insert it underneath the bezel using a little bit of masking tape for protection, and then lever it upwards. Once you've started it, you move round, and in my view anyway, rather than trying to lever it all off in one go and risk bending the bezel, I like to just run round and lift it a mil at a time, you know, as you keep going round, and eventually it'll spring off. I also find that using this particular knife gives you a much better amount of leverage when it comes to just moving it a couple of mil. So that this is a pen knife, but the blade is incredibly stiff. It won't bend at all that under pressure, so it's absolutely ideal for lifting a bezel off. I find the jeweler's tool, in actual fact, I don't think that one's very good. I think there's you get them in sort of knife versions anyway, which are probably a bit better. But what we've found is that, my God, there's some muck underneath there. I mean, that is all mud that's been collected from various countries at war, I presume, over the last 15 or 20 years. The bits are as follows. There's the bezel itself. This is absolutely full of dirt, and I can't wait to get that cleaned. There it is in some focus, hopefully for you. That'll come up beautifully just with a bit of soap and water. This is the click spring. You can see that that's got a bit nearest the end of the tweezers that faces down, and that locates into a hole at the top here. It actually sits less deep into the bezel than the spring that this one actually holds. It holds the bezel on. That slots quite deeply into the bezel. I've had to fetch that out. It was wedged in with all of the dirt, whereas this one just provides the click and the anti rotation, so the one-way rotation, if you like. So next job really is just to go and actually give them a wash. So we're back onto John's CWC, which has now had a bit of a wash, just with soapy water and what have you in the sink, and it's looking pretty good. So some of that really thick mud has just come off, and it's now looking quite nice. If you have a look at the bezel as well, that's looking pretty clean. Looks particularly clean underneath, if I can actually get it turned over. There we go. That looks quite nice, doesn't it? There's the click spring. And here is the spring that holds the bezel on. So I'm just going to put those away in a little pot, put them out of the way. What we've actually got down here is a new glass for the watch, which I'm going to show you if I can get it out of the packet. And there it is. This needs a bit of a clean as well. But what we've got to get on with now is taking the back off, removing the movement, and taking the glass out, hopefully leaving that gasket in there that we talked about earlier, and then getting the new glass back in. I haven't actually got the new movement yet, so the new movement will be the last thing to do, but let's get it all out and put the old movement away, put the stem somewhere for safekeeping, and then get that new glass back in. So we'll loosen the case with the case removing tool, which is locked into the various bits on the case there. I like this. It doesn't always work that you've got this kind of set of grooves on the back of a watch, so this particular tool isn't always the tool for the job. Most people will have one of those balls to friction ball, but that's good, particularly in this case, because this one was quite tough. I'm not sure that a friction ball would have taken it off, but let's just undo the rest of the lid there and take this off. What you've got in there is a cover. It just goes over the movement. Just got to get that cover out. It shouldn't really be too tricky. It might actually just be easier to lever it up a bit. There we go. That's what that is. Just an actual dust cover that keeps dust out of the movement should it go through the back of the watch, which I don't suppose it would. We'll now undo the crown and the winder, and we'll take the stem out. So to get the stem out, I'll just zoom in so you can see where we need to go. The watch is effectively upside down, but if you can see the arrow, sort of at 3:15 in the movement, which is about here. As we're looking at it, there's a little arrow there that says that's the button to press in order to remove the stem. So I'll just do that down a bit. I will press that in if I can. Need a fairly steady hand. Press that in and take that, and that's the stem out. Lovely. If we turn the watch upside down, there we are. We've now got the movement out as well. The case looks quite nice. Sorry, the dial looks quite nice. You can see that the luminescence is a bit depleted on the hands, but we'll maybe get some Rodico on that and see if that will clean them up at some point. But the next little job is going to be to remove the hands and pop them somewhere for safekeeping and take the actual movement off. So you can see how dirty it is on the inside of the case actually, now that the case is off. And we'll clean that up obviously, but the first job will be to take the glass out. I notice there's no gasket in the case as well, so that's obviously lost itself over the years. We're going to use a little tool. It's not the most expensive version of a tool for pressing glass out, but it's perfectly adequate for the job. Won't cost you very much money if you were going to buy one of these. Don't put the crown in first. So it'll sit on the back. We'll just set that nicely into the die, and then we'll tighten that up. Let's see if we can push this glass out. Yep, I'd say that's done it. Had quite a positive snap. So I'll turn the watch over and we'll see if we've got that gasket hole or not. Yeah, and there we are, all is very well. You can just see that gasket that's remained on the inside of the watch, which is great. I'm definitely going to try not to disturb that at all, so it'll be a quick wash. And then I think we'll refit the glass. And then I think we might put the back on before we start filing the welding splashers that are on the side there. So that'll be the next little job. So I've given it a bit of a clean, and I've had a bit of a think about what I'm going to do next, and actually a bit of a rethink. So I think what I am going to do is I'm going to start filing this welding splash off. I'm going to try and do that as much as possible without adding to the scratches on the face, which may not be that easy. It might be that I'm going to need to put a few scratches on here, which I'm going to then have to polish out later. So rather than be totally committed to not scratching it while I'm doing this, probably my commitment needs to be around the level and depth of scratch as opposed to whether it's going to get scratched at all. That's nice. Let's just banish that off nicely. Okay. That's good. That'll polish out quite nicely. I think that's actually fine, isn't it? There was a little bit of a lip hanging over that bit of the crown from that. That's enough of that. Don't want to do too much.
See all the bits of filing that have come off there, and I think that's actually pretty good.
So what we've got here, pre-polishing, is a piece of very fine 180 grit sandpaper, which I've actually just polished the top of my vise with to reduce the coarseness even further. And then I've put a bit of 3-in-1 oil, just dabbed it on there to give it a bit of lubrication. And there's obviously a bit of wire wool there. And what I'm going to do on John's watch is I'm just going to very lightly go over the bit where I've been filing and just take away some of that filing edge. Just that really very lightly with this stuff, because this will be quite abrasive for a watch. And obviously we're going to polish all of this out later anyway, so it's just a bit about taking out some of the deeper bits of rut I've just put into it with the file. Just taking that, further reducing that bit of weld that John had left on there. And that's actually doing a pretty nice job in there. There we go. Can't really see that now. That's good. I'll actually do the rest of the watch as a little bit of a pre. That's nice. So it's night time now, and I think it's time to put the glass in. I don't think there's anything to be gained from leaving the glass out, other than running some potential risk with that gasket. It's going to be a few days before the movement turns up, so I think I'm just going to get the glass in, and then we'll eventually do the movement, polish up the sides, and put the bezel back on, and then get a new strap on it and return it to John. So next little job is to move that there, bring our little press into view. That's that. Put the die in. I'll put the watch into the die very carefully, and then we'll put the glass in position. Good. And then we'll just tighten that up. We'll give it a bit of a wiggle as it goes. Give it a bit of a turn. Just make sure that we're sort of pressing it in evenly. There you go, and trinket it absolutely dead centre now, just to give it a bit of a good tight press. And then I'm going
to take it out and just check it for depth all the way around. That glass is now in. And that looks pretty good. Give it a little clean. Oh, absolutely spotless underneath, and there we are. That's great. Very happy with that. Just going to get a little gauge of some sort and just go all the way around that. Make sure it's the right depth into the frame. I can actually do it from the inside because there is a ledge that it rests on. That's that. So we're back in the world of John's service watch, and we've got a new movement, which is great news. We've got a new strap lurking in there. I don't know what the size is, but I imagine it's 33 or 32 mil. Get a new gasket for the case before we put the back on. I need to take the hands off the old movement. I need to take the dial off the old movement. I need to put the dial onto the new movement, put the hands on, and then put it all back together again. Everything's been nicely cleaned. Just need to put the dust thing back on the dust cover. So we'll get on with it. So what I'm going to do with the movement to take the hands off is pop it in a little bag, take my tool, which is this thing here. You'll notice that I'd put the hands to 12 o'clock, lift the hands off like that, and then I'll take it out of the bag and take the hands out of the bag. By the way, yes, you'll notice that I set the hands to 12 o'clock in order to take them off, and that was actually so that when the tool went down underneath the hands, it definitely couldn't mark any of the writing that's on the face near the hands. That was that. Right, so we've taken the hands off, and now I just need to take the dial off. This is a new movement. These are the dial holders. So on the new movement, this is the old movement with the dial still on. What I've got to do is I've got to move those out in order for the dial to drop off. Fairly delicate job, albeit we know that this particular movement's just going to get thrown away, so to that end it's actually not that delicate. Pivots on this little piece here, so it's kind of up to very ETA, that is. So there's the dial dropped off. There's a double date. Interesting. Okay. That's that. There's a little ring on the dial as well there. Okay. Another bit of technical interest, but actually not that much of a worry. I'm going to take this away and clean it before I put it back on. I've used some wire wool to actually clean it, and I've just dabbed a little bit of shotgun oil on there just to do the final bit of clean and polish, because the wire wool makes that actually quite dusty, and I don't want to leave a dusty residue on there, so I'm just going to clean that off with oil, not water. Okay, so that's done. It just shows you that the best dials are brass. Have a, you know, paint on brass, which can't rust. That obviously can, steel, so not ideal. Anyway, what we're going to do next is just pop the face onto the movement, which actually means pop the movement onto the face. I know that that's 3 o'clock over there, so I'm going to align it thus. Boom. Boom. Turn it over. Bang on, 3 o'clock, look. How good is that? So the hands are going to go on. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to dab the hands with a bit of Rodico to try and lift some of the dirt off that's existing on the hands at the moment. They're upside down, so we need to get our hand and the second hand the right way up. That's that. And dab them with that stuff, see if we can clean them up. I'm probably not going to dab this one. That's the right way up as it is at the moment. The reason I'm not going to dab that one is because the hand is so fragile, in actual fact, that it doesn't want this kind of work on it. So I'm just going to hold that with my finger and dab it. See if I can lift a bit of this. Dirt. Off it. I think that's about as well as we can do. And then it's really put the hands on. Hands will go on at 12 o'clock to line them up. What's actually could do with a bit of a clean is the face itself as well. That doesn't look to be the cleanest in the world. I'll just have a bit of a dab around there and see if I can clean those up. I held that a bit close and I've done what I can with the dial, which is not actually very much. I think that little sort of spot that you can see on the 12 o'clock hand is ingrained and I'm not going to be able to get that out. I don't want to do too much to it, so I think we'll just carry on with the hands. So just get them in place first. I tell you what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tip that off and I'm going to get a protector. So I put a protector on the face because I've been here before and it's easy enough to get the hour hand and the second hand on, but getting the hour hand and the minute hand on, but getting the second hand on is a nightmare, for which I'll have to hold it quite close up to my eye and you won't see that happen. But it is a nightmare and that leads to the second hand flying all over the face, and as I'm trying to get it on, and that can end up with scratches on the face as I keep lifting it off and missing and da-di-da. So we'll get the protector on and let's have a go at getting this hour hand actually on. to the watch. It's upside down at the moment, that makes life difficult. Oh, come here. Welcome to hell. Right, there we go. Right, that's somewhere near on. So I'll take that down there. So that's kind of at 12 o'clock now, and then I'll get my hand pusher. And we'll press that on. And hopefully that'll be, no, that's not pressed on. Okay, so it's probably the protector that's preventing that going on. This doesn't look ideal. Bless me, Father. I have made a bit of a cock up there, because what I've done is I've put the bloody face on before I've actually put the hour a minute crown back on. On these ETA movements, that's loose, and it's very easy to lose because it's loose. And consequently, I'd taken it off, and I have cocked up by putting the face on before I have put that back on. So I'm going to take that off there, and we will return once that's done. Right, we're back. We've done that thing. And now I'm going to put these hands back on. Hopefully properly this time. Okay, that's the hour hand. I'll just move that around to pop it on a little bit, and then move it around to exactly 12 o'clock if we can, and then I'll push that on quite firmly. Okay. And then I'm going to do that with the second hand. Get the plastic things on there so as not to mark the face. Might use that in a minute when we get to put the second hand on, but I'll take the minute hand round. We just pushed it on a little bit, push it on a little bit again, take it around again. Careful not to do too much without sort of pushing it on, because what happens then is that it moves off the pinion. Okay, it's about there. Okay, I'll push that in and push it on again, because I'm not sure that that's totally done. I'm not sure that's on. Let's have a little play. Oh, well, might be all right. Might be all right. Give it another little push, and push it back a bit so that we've got a bit of clearance. We can see a bit of clearance there now. What I'll do then is I'll test it. We'll pull it out, and we'll see about whether it's going to turn. Oh, look at that. Look at that. I'm going to wag it a bit now as well, just to make sure that that's not going to come off. And then, yeah, so that's free of each other. Put that there. Doesn't really matter where the second hand goes on, just as long as it's the correct way up. I'm going to put it on with this, and I'm going to give it one go. Got to take it like that. Going to give it one go. See if I can get it on. No. All right. We'll come back in a minute. I need it a bit close to my eye, unfortunately. So happy days. All is working. So next thing is to get the, I think we'll put the dial into the watch, and I think we'll put the bezel on after. Okay. So there it is, the article getting complete. Well, back to John's watch, and we'd been messing about with the bezel trying to get that on, and you'll see the two bits of wire. This one is the clip check, this is the piece of wire that holds the bezel on. That bit of wire that holds the bezel on is a little bit shorter than it should be because it's missing that particular piece, which had snapped off as we tried to put it on. It had obviously got weakened across its lifetime and snapped off. So one would ordinarily just go and buy the relative part, but unfortunately those are about as rare as hen's teeth, and consequently what I've actually done is I've gone and bought some spring steel of an equal width, which is about 0.4 of a millimetre, and we are going to bend that piece of steel into a new octagon in order to attach the bezel to the watch. So each of those crimps is actually 1 centimetre. So what we're going to do is get a pair of pliers. Might try and find one with a head that's exactly 1 centimetre across, and that would be a bit of luck, wouldn't it? And then we'll have a bit of a go at that. So I've done the first little bend. We couldn't find a pair of pliers to adequately give us the 1 centimetre that we wanted. I'm just bending that one thus. Then we'll use that to give us another centimetre. And then I guess the trick is to try and bend the wire in exactly the same direction again, every time. So if we don't do that, we're going to end up with one that's kind of off centre. My glasses are steaming up while I'm doing this. It's quite a hot day today, and it's not that easy to do from afar. That's about right. Let's just see how well that's turning out against the this little friend here. See if it's around and about the right shape. Well, I tell you what, that's pretty good, isn't it? Hey, I'm a bit chuffed with that. Fantastic. Good enough. Just make sure it's, you can see it's a little bit cockeyed already. I don't really want that to be too cockeyed. I don't want it to be too narrow a thing either. Put it in there. That's, again, I mean, that's incredibly lucky, I would suggest. I was going to say incredibly good, but I might be pushing my luck on that one. Let's have a little measure of that. That looks about right. Again, don't want that being too cockeyed, so we'll just bend that in. Take that in there. Yep. And then okay, that's that. I'm going to chop that off there. Pretty tricky stuff to get through the old spring steel, but that should have done it, and it has. Well, let's see. We'll just open it up a little bit so we can push it into the bezel, and let's see if that works. Cool. I'll be bloody amazed if it does. The question is that going to actually hold on to that? How the fuck do you get the bastard on? The answer is maybe yes, maybe it will, maybe it will, maybe it won't. Fuck knows. I'm going to grip it on that at this time. I fucking won't, might not. I am absolutely pouring sweat off myself like a beast here. Okay. Right. Let's see if we can't swing it anti-clockwise around then. You can kind of hear it grinding its way under. Oh, you bastard. I think for as long as it's making that noise, it's not in. I think when it finally goes in, it's gonna twist very nicely indeed. Well, following a lot of unnecessary swearing and a fair bit of sweat on the green mat, we've finally got the bezel working, and it's just clicking round beautifully now. So I'm very, very chuffed with that. It's all held on beautifully. So we've only actually got one last little thing to do, which is to give John a new strap, I think. And got one of these Zulu diver straps. He had like a military strap on it previously. It was grey previously. Well, it was
pretty dirty as well, if you remember. And this time I've got something of an homage to the parachute regiment, but not quite as blatant as a full para one, which would be just maroon. So we'll pop that through. Pop that through there. Through there. Pull it down. Pop that underneath. Treating it the best, but there it is. Right in the middle. That, my friends, is John's Cabot Watch Company Navy Quartz diver. Refurbished, not absolutely taken all the patina off it, but actually it's in good, very good order now, and I think John's going to be absolutely delighted. So I can't wait to get it down to the pub and get it on his wrist. Bye for now.